I'm not aware of any research that suggests that journalists are more susceptible to depression or other forms of psychological suffering than any other profession. But from my own experience, I do have a few thoughts as to why we suffer in the way that we do. Now, part of that is that very few of us end up as journalists purely by accident. I know in my own case, I was desperate to be a foreign correspondent ever since I watched the first Gulf War on television. I was probably about 14 at the time. I knew that was the job for me, and I was very lucky in that I was able to do a lot of those things many years later that I'd seen others doing on the TV before me. I worked hard to get where I did, and part of me felt proud that I'd made it in some respects in my profession. But there's a flip side to that, in that we can invest so much in our identity as journalists, in playing the role that journalism entails. And that may not necessarily mean running around dusty places as a foreign correspondent. The archetype of journalist as truth teller, as observer, as reporter is equally strong for those of us who work in the lobby or on the desk, actually, as it is for those of us who choose to run away from it all and head out to distant lands. So I'm talking here to the whole of the profession. It's competitive, it's tough to break in, and often we make sacrifices in our personal lives and in our family lives. And a lot of the time it's worth it. Good journalism is an essential part of a healthy society, even a healthy international order. And we see what happens when that truth-telling is absent or threatened. But there can be a price for this, because in that huge investment we make to play that role, to live up to the demands of the archetypal reporter, we can also lose touch with other elements of ourselves. Perhaps we don't give ourselves the nurturing we need. Perhaps we make too many sacrifices in our close relationships. And perhaps we spend so much time trying to be what we think we should be, we don't spend very much time asking, actually, who are we really? We don't have our notebook in our hand or our phone cradled to our ear. That's not to say there's anything wrong with journalism. It's just to remind you that however great a journalist you are, however much you love being a journalist, there's actually more to you, a lot more to you, than the professional role you play. And that's true for anybody in any job that they love. I can already sense some of you bristling at me saying this, but ultimately it is only a job. And the sooner we can take a little step back and realize that a lot of what's been tormenting us, whether it's at work or whether it's as a result of the life circumstances we've accepted, the bargains that we've made along the way, there's nothing wrong with any of that. But if you're not feeling good, if something's really not working, it may mean you need to take a step back and ask what you really want, and whether that's always aligned with what the journalist in you also wants. because sometimes the two can be different, and it's very important to give that other part of yourself a chance to make choices as well.